and welcome back to Coach's Corner. It is a Thursday night. We are 40 minutes approximately away from kickoff of the NFL season. But that doesn't stop us. We are here. We are here to talk some football. We are here to give my final thoughts here before the season starts. And frankly, I'm pumped. Frankly, I cannot wait for the season to start. We are here. It is like Christmas morning. You wake up and like a kid like me, you run down the hall and then you see football jerseys on the chimney. And you just know that Santa came and ate part of the cookie. The reindeers had some of the carrots, and it was just a wonderful day to enjoy as a kid. Well, that's me getting ready to watch Chiefs kick off against the Baltimore Ravens as of today. So we do have that to look forward to. I'll give probably some of my last little thoughts on week one, kind of heading into here, what games I think catch my eye, but not from the mainstream perspective, because you can go listen to anyone talk about the Jets 49ers game on Monday night. You can go hear anyone talk about the game that's happening tonight or the game that's happening tomorrow in Brazil between the Eagles and the Packers. I'll give you a couple games that I'm looking forward to week one. But as we start here, we do have to talk about the gambling weekend, the college football weekend, and what happened. I went 6-8-1. It is not one of my better performances, not one of my worst performances, but 6-8-1, it's not something I'm going to hang my hat on, but I think it's a lot better than how I thought I did when I, was going through the Saturday and what happened. I guess it's the entire week, the Thursday to the Saturday night. So North Carolina -2, that was a push against Minnesota. Jacksonville State, a loser. North Dakota State, Colorado, a loser. Michigan State, that loser. But we got our first win on the board at Vanderbilt plus 13.5. They went, I'm about to say they went on the road and beat Virginia Tech. They stayed at home and they beat Virginia Tech in overtime in a thrilling game that I think has the Nashville faithful hopeful for a Commodore season. Next up, we had West Virginia, who laid a big old stinker against Penn State. I do think Penn State is someone to look out for. We'll get to them in a moment. South Dakota State at Oklahoma State, the over, that did hit. Colorado State against Texas. Texas got us 52 of those 61 points that we needed. Colorado State put up a big old donut hole, calling them a bunch of cops because they gave me a lot of donuts there with a 0. So then we had UTSA against Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State kept that game close. UTSA never really got that offense off the ground. It was kind of a bummer. But then we got a really good end of the day, and that was Miami -2.5 against Florida. They blew that out of the water, blew Florida out of the water. In Miami, you might have a problem, for the ACC. You might be the problem in the ACC because of what we saw this past weekend, because Florida State on Monday, Georgia Tech, are you going to really trust them? Syracuse, are you going to trust them? Clemson laid a big old stinker against Georgia. So, Miami, I mean, maybe Cam Ward is your Moses. He's leading you down, the parted ACC, and you might be going to the promised land. We have Boise State at Georgia Southern. The over did hit in that one. Ashton Genty scored 6 touchdowns. 6 touchdowns. Crazy stuff. Tarleton State did not cover the 26 points that I thought they would at Baylor, but Nevada and Troy got that over. Texas A&M, this one hurts because I had Notre Dame, then I switched to Texas A&M. Notre Dame went on the road, a gritty, tough win over a Texas A&M team that I think we're just going to see is like most Texas A&M teams, where they're frisky, they have a lot of talent, they're hard-nosed, but do you really ever trust them to do anything of note? The answer is no. So that's a thing. And then we finish off New Mexico at Arizona, the over in that. It's one of those things. It's just, that one was just an easy pick. Arizona covered the total by themselves. They scored 61 points. The receiver had 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. Unbelievable. So, with that being said, the total now sits at 7-11-1 for the year. We're 4-2 in the last 6 games, though, so don't sleep on me quite yet. You can snooze, but don't sleep. So we'll get to the next couple picks of what I'm looking forward to this upcoming weekend, but I do want to talk some NFL first. I do want to talk about how this season might play out. And we're going to start off with the week one, and that is the Florida Bowl. We have Jacksonville, the Jaguars, going against Miami. I'm going to be honest. I'm very high on the Jaguars. I think they're going to be a really good team. I think Brian Thomas could be a very welcome addition to that offense. A new receiver weapon to kind of stretch the field, maybe do some things that Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis can't do. I think he'll be a real threat. But I think Miami is one of those early season warrior teams where they just come out and they just blitz you. And then, you get to those colder months, they kind of slow down a little bit. But starting out of the gate, they're all healthy, no hamstring hangups. Tua just got a new contract. I like Miami in this game, but I think this is going to be a very big tone-setting game, and I think we'll kind of understand this is a very telling game for me. Whether Jacksonville, if it's a competitive game, I think we're going to see both teams will be competing for playoff spots. If, Jacksonville lays a big old stinker, then I think it's time for me to once again sell my Jaguar stock, although I just bought a lot of it. And if we see Miami get blown out, then I don't know. Miami, you might be heading towards a real rough conversation here. You just signed a lot of guys to a lot of money. What are you going to do now that you're just laying eggs against probably the maybe second, third worst franchise in your state? Regardless. But Buffalo, the Bills, speaking of the AFC East, has a team that is coming into Buffalo that really could, think, be a good tone setter for them. The Arizona Cardinals are traveling to Buffalo across the country. Rookie receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. could be exciting. Kyler Murray, big, former Heisman winner, big time quarterback. They're coming into Buffalo, and I would say they're a frisky team. But then you have to remember, they're the Arizona Cardinals. So are you really going to trust them? And I like the Cardinals, but I'm not going to trust them. And I think this is a perfect game for Buffalo to really get that tone set. And, week one reactions, I think they're very tough. And I know I'm giving some of them like, hey, if this happens, this means this. But this feels like one of those things in week one. If we see how this Buffalo Bills team plays in week one and it's not pretty against this Arizona Cardinals team traveling across the country, I think the Bills might have a tough season ahead. But I have faith in Josh Allen and co. I have faith in Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator. I have faith in James Cook, the running back, to at least keep the offense moving and churning against a defense that frankly shouldn't be all that good. And then, of course, we have to talk about the rookie quarterbacks. We have Caleb Williams, who's going up against the Titans team, which I think could be a testy group. And, that could be one of those, games where we come away and like, man, Caleb Williams is going to be a bust. But week one overreactions, they're a thing. Don't fall into it. The Titans have a good defense. They spent money on that side of the ball primarily. L'Jarius Sneed is a Titan now, not a Chief. They traded for Ernest Jones, a really good linebacker. So Titans have some frisky pieces here and there. But then you have to go down the list here. Jaden Daniels plays the Tampa Bay team that just made the playoffs and also has a really, really good secondary. How is he going to do? Is he going to look bad? Probably so. And then last but not least, Bo Nix traveling to Seattle, another defense that has opportunistic players like Devin Witherspoon. They drafted a couple of guys. Like the Seahawks could be a tough test. I mean, the environment's known to be pretty loud there, and I think it's Lumen Field or something. Either way, Bo Nix traveling on the road. So I think we're going to have bad rookie play in this week one. I don't think we're going to come out of week one being like, man, every rookie quarterback is great. Everything is good. Everyone found their franchise guy. I think it could be a rough weekend for the youngsters. And so those are some of my little, sprinkles, some stuff here and there. Who's going to be good? Who's going to be bad? But I think I'm going to have to give the prediction that everyone wants to hear, the granddaddy of them all. Obviously, I don't think people call it the Rose Bowl. Oh, wait, they do. Either way, the Super Bowl, the NFL Super Bowl, who are my two teams that I'm taking to be in that game? I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs as the most simple, plain pick I can give you because they are just that good on both sides of the ball. Defense, they haven't lost coordinators. The offense, Patrick Mahomes, it's just too easy of a pick. But then the NFC, you think about the NFC, it's just a tough conference where I wouldn't say it's, a murderer's row of teams. There's a lot of teams that really just, frankly, you can make a case for being the obvious, winner in the NFC North or the NFC East, NFC West, NFC South. Who's going to be the winner of the NFC? I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions. It's just one of those things where they just didn't really lose a ton. They added, I think, very quality pieces like DJ Reader. Tyrion Arnold should be a really good rookie, I think. And I think Jameson Williams takes a step. I think he finally, shows up to the NFL ready for a season, and I think he's going to be a game changer for them in that offense. They didn't lose their coordinator like many thought they would. So give me a Lions and Chiefs Super Bowl. I'm not going to give the winner though. I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna let you think. Run the imagination machine. Let it go crazy. But we have some college football picks to get into before we get out of here. We do have to win here. I feel the pressure a little bit because a lot of friends come to me with, hey Lucas, what's the picks? And I'm left wondering what are the picks because God, I have not done great. But like I said, 7-11-1, not terrible, not great. Probably the last time I'll ever get to say 7-11 Slurpee. But we do have to start off with the first game that I do have on my board, and that is Kansas State at Tulane, the over 49.5. Kansas State could be, the Big 12 champion. Their quarterback, Avery Johnson, is really highly regarded by a lot of people. He didn't really get to do a ton in his first game. They kind of just handled business. Tulane, one of those teams where it's like they lost their coach, Willie Fritz, I think, to Houston, I believe. And so they're kind of in a rebuilding thing. But Tulane came out strong in week one, scored some points. I think 49.5 is just a low number for two quality teams that I don't think play a ton of defense. They're both hard-nosed. I think that's, they have that advantage. But I think they'll have a really, good high-scoring game. At least get, a 24-31 finish or something, if it is close. Next game, Penn State minus 34.5 at Bowling Green. This just feels like a low number. If you think Penn State will win 42-3, you cover this. I think Penn State can score 35 on their own. I don't know if Bowling Green can muster up a touchdown. So I like Penn State to win by 5 touchdowns against Bowling Green. Next, we have Texas minus 7.5 at Michigan. This is the game of the week. But I just think this isn't going to be as good as it's cracked out to be because Michigan's defense, although it is terrific and Texas's offense is really good, and that'll be a good battle. I think the difference is the Texas defense going against Michigan's offense because Michigan's offense didn't get anything really going against Fresno State until the end of the game. Their quarterback is, a surprise pick, not Alex Orji. It's Davis Warren, I believe, a walk-on. It's just in week 2 against Texas, this is just a tough matchup for a kid going in the second start. I know it is at home, but I think Texas can win this by 10-14, so give me the Longhorns on the road. Next up, we have Arkansas at Oklahoma State. I have the over 60.5. Two teams that, frankly, I just don't think are highly regarded as defensive teams. Oklahoma State, it did end up scoring the 40 points that I needed from them against South Dakota State. I think they can continue that scoring up against Arkansas. Because Arkansas defense, I don't think has anything, I don't think they leave a lot to be desired. But Arkansas's quarterback, Taylon Green, also had a really good debut. I think he can continue his success against Oklahoma State. Next, Eastern Michigan at Washington, the over 47.5. Washington, I think, has to prove that, they had a struggle. They struggled out of the gate against Weaver State. I think they want to, prove that they can, put it on with the best of them. I think Washington can cover this on their own. If not, they get 42. Eastern Michigan gets 7. That gets us the over. Next, Iowa minus 2.5 against Iowa State. They're at home. Iowa has a sneaky home field advantage. Their defense is really good once again. Their offense, we know what their offense is. But Iowa State isn't very special. Iowa is covered in this game multiple times now. They've outright won it a decent amount. I think Iowa State has like 1 win in their last 9 matches. So give me the Hawkeyes here to beat Iowa State. Next, I'm going back to the UTSA. Well, UTSA at Texas State, the under 64. Just a lot of points. UTSA didn't impress me with that offense. I can't imagine they do enough here to really keep up the pace that you would need for an over in this spot at 64. Next up, South Alabama minus 2 at Ohio. A lot of people like Ohio in this as an underdog. I know it's at at Ohio, but South Alabama's offense put up big numbers across the board last week. So I think maybe this is one of those offenses where they just score. And I think, if that's the case, they can win this game. And I like South Alabama to go on the road and win. Next, one of my favorite picks here, Georgia Southern at Nevada, the over 58.5. Once again, I'm kind of going to that Nevada over well. Nevada, did their part in the week one, didn't get the over. They did their part last week against Troy, got me the over. I think they do it again. And Georgia Southern's defense is not good, but their offense does score a decent amount, even though they lost, it was like 56-36 last week against Boise State. So they can score, and they cannot get stopped. So give me that over 58.5. Next up, we have Alabama minus 31 against USF. It's at home. Alabama struggled against USF last year. I'm sure they want to get revenge, and I think Alabama's just in this kind of phase of Kalen DeBoer where they're just like, hey, let's get some style points. And so they're just going for points, and they don't want to think about anything else. So I think that lends the 31 here to be broken because they did win 63-0 against Western Kentucky. So another pick that I love, Kansas minus 5.5 at Illinois. I don't know why this is so close here because I don't think of Illinois as like even a top half Big Ten team. I think of Kansas is a top 4 Big 12 team. Quarterback is healthy, once again for Jalen Daniels. They did it, great game last year. They ended up winning. I like Kansas here by a touchdown, if not more. Next up, we have Tennessee. I have them minus 7.5 against NC State. It's a neutral, field game. A lot of people do love Nico Imaleva, I believe his name is. He's the quarterback in Tennessee, runs that offense, commands it really. Did a great job on Saturday. People are hopping on the Tennessee bandwagon once again, and I will for this 1 week because NC State did not impress me. The offense I thought would have ran a lot better under Grayson McCall. I do think this can be a close game, but maybe in week 4 I would have picked NC State, but week 2 we're just coming off a dreadful performance against a bad team in for NC State. Give me Tennessee minus the points. Next up, we have Mississippi State plus 6.5 at Arizona State. Mississippi State, I think they put up more points than I thought they would last week. So I think that maybe this trend continues. Them being a plus point dog, I like them to win outright. So even if they lose by 3, I get the win here. I know Arizona State's something, but I'm just not buying it. So give me Mississippi State plus 6.5. Then we finish off our spread picks with Texas Tech at Wazoo, the over 65.5. I know the thinking of hey, the 64 earlier took the under. What about this one? Well, these are just offenses. They're not playing defense. This is the Mike Leach Bowl, so Texas Tech, they score a lot of points. Wazoo, they score a lot of points. They scored 70 last week. Texas Tech scored 40-something last week. So both offenses proved they can get it done when it matters when it comes to that side of the ball. So I like them to continue that trend, keep getting, the points, and we will just pray and hope that we get the win there in the late night hours of Pac-2 after dark against the Big 12 after dark. I don't know. Either way, we're trying. We're trying out new things here. But along with that, I did want to say a little bit of a sprinkle maybe for national championship odds. If you're into that sort of thing, Oklahoma plus 7,000. I know they have a brutal schedule. But some of those games are favorable at home for them. LSU just dropped a game. They do have to travel there, so maybe that's their toughest game. But Oklahoma, I think, could be a team that's worth hey, not bad. Plus 7,000 is a lot of odds there. And then Penn State plus 2,000. I just think that's after their performance against West Virginia. I'm sure that number did drop. It was probably plus 3,000. Their offense looked really alive against West Virginia, and I think that's. They don't have a tough schedule in the Big Ten. If they can sneak into the playoffs, they just have to get hot at the right time. Drew Aller is proving that he can be the guy. I don't know. I kind of like them at the plus 2,000 there for national championship odds. But what do I know? That is all I have for you here this week. We'll come back next week. Hopefully normal schedule. Labor Day kind of jacked things up, but we do what we do, and we will be back next week with more picks, hopefully more winners. Hopefully we'll have a great week 1. Hopefully the Falcons will win against the Steelers, and I can celebrate by putting a jersey behind me of the Atlanta Falcons. But with all that being said, I am your host, Lucas Kochevar. As always, make sure you like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. I will see you guys next week. Goodbye.